right, everybody, come on in. Welcome back to the Wives Club. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. You may know me for my cooking channel. I do make food and femininity content. But what you may not know is in 2021, I actually booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels. I miss him every day. So, yes, I was one of the ones who talked to him one-on-one. And when I booked that session, it wasn't for me. I like to say I'm happily average, but I did always get convicted whenever he would talk about where are the older women to teach the young. I don't have daughters. I don't have sisters, a lot of men in my family. But I am realizing more and more as I turned 50 this year that a lot of younger women have moms my age that are not helping them get the relationship outcomes that they want. So if you still want traditional marriage and family, even in these modern times, what I like to do is come on here and share my perspective as an older woman with marriage experience and a mom. Done some things right, I've done some things wrong, and hopefully we can all learn from it. So if it's helpful, what we're going to do today is we are going to react to Kevin's latest stream. I know I'm behind. It's probably been out a couple weeks now, but this one is, are there enough modern women desiring to be wives, or something like that? Forgive me for butchering the channel. The title. So I have my clips here and I'll be looking and then just giving you all my take. This was a collection of Kevin content that had been pieced together. Even though he's no longer with us, his memory still lives on, and I want to do my part to keep his name alive. All right. We've got Gamehead watching. Thank you all so much for being here. Hopefully this is helpful. And I see you all on Instagram. Hello, everybody. Cooking Cousins is here. So good to see you. And TikTok as well. All right. So to start off, the theme of this one was, do we have enough women who are, let's just face it, wife material? A little bit about me. I married young. I've had 2 long-term relationships. Life has brought me back to my first love, but I did marry at 25. Met my ex-husband at 18. He was my only college boyfriend, got engaged right after graduating, and then married the year after that. And I was raised to be a wife, and I'm so grateful that I had the experience. However, I always tell you all that I think with college in corporate America, I was more competitive and thought all of my accomplishments matter. And what I realize now, especially in my older age, is that what really matters is the relationships that we have. And for me, marriage and family is a priority. So I've been in a long term for over a decade. His requirements were that I finish what I start, raise the boys. So I co-parent really well with my ex-husband. They actually live with their father now that they're in high school. So hopefully in a couple of years, maybe I'll get a second chance. But that's the perspective that I speak from. Okay, so Kevin was asking if there are enough women that are wife material. And he said that the men that he talks to say no, there aren't enough wives out here. I think there are a lot of women that want to be wives, that say they're wife ready, but when it comes down to the qualities that the men that we want require in the women that they marry, I'll be honest, ladies, and I've talked to several, we got a lot of work to do. You know, for some of us, that ship has sailed, but that is why, especially for my younger ladies, if this is what you want, hopefully what I say is helpful. One of the biggest deterrents for why a lot of women, modern women, are not getting married is because they come into relationships with children. And I know this is a hot button issue and women get really offended by it. You can get offended by it. However, men are the ones that do the asking. So men are the ones that do the choosing. So ladies, when we talk about, Kevin used to say, we control access to our bodies. We control whether or not any intimacy happens. Men do all the things that they do if they want access to us to meet our requirements. They have to have the type of job, live the type of life, all the things that you say are, your requirements to have access. So men also control access to relationships. So ladies, if you want to be spoken for, if you want to be married, if you want to be Mrs. So-and-so, we have to meet their requirements. And the truth is, men want to create their own family. Turn down my space here. Men want to create their own family. That's just the truth. So when you come into a relationship already with a child, you may look at it as this is my child, but the men look at it as you're bringing another man's child into the relationship. And so every day he has a reminder that that's not mine. And no matter how good or bad that bonus kid may be, it's that constant reminder. And men don't want to take the difficult path. Life is already difficult for them. All right. We got Rachel here. Hello. Masha says, say hello to you. Are you asking? Hello. All right. Let me turn this down. It's still hot for me. Okay. So if in our community, 80% of the women, I think he said 80% of the women are having children with 20% of the men. Ladies, there's really not much that I can say about this. You know, if you already have a child, I don't know what to tell you. That's why I'm really trying to help the women who are young before they bring on these decisions that are going to affect them for life. But I will say this, and I'm saying this as a divorcee, I'm saying this as a mother. My man sat me down on the second date and told me, this is what I will do for you. These are my requirements. This is my timeline. I need you to finish what you started. He didn't want a blended family. And so he put that on me to make the decision. Okay, do I want to wait for a second chance and make sure the kids are up and out? Or do I want to be out there? And I chose to wait. So again, we are not controlling the shots here, ladies. So make it easier on yourself. If you do have a child, it really is important the relationship that you have, the man that you choose to bear children with, ladies, we've got to do a better job. You know, and I always put the hot seat on me, even though I couldn't keep the marriage together. I am so grateful that my ex-husband is an amazing father. And like I said, the boys live with him. The men listen to how we speak about the men that we chose to bear children from, because it is our bear children for, because it is our choice. Men listen to that. So if the man is not present, if you got all this laundry list of problems, he was a narcissist, he was abusive, he had all these things, logically a man is going to say, well, why did you give him children? So ladies, you would do much better to not only choose wisely, wait and marry before you carry, but if you do have a child, even if there are some things that happened in the past, that needs to be water under the bridge. And you need to come into a relationship talking about what it looks like moving forward, because that's what our men are thinking about. And if they are going to give a woman who has children a shot, like my man said, that whole system needs to be a well-oiled machine. He needs to be able to look at it from afar and say, okay, they've already got this thing sorted out. This is the role that I'm going to play. It's not going to make it a sure thing, but you definitely will not help yourself being considered for marriage if you come with a lot of chaos that includes other people. All right. Let's see what else. So we talked about that. We talked about we are the ones that control our bodies and the decisions that we make when it comes to children. All right. Let's see what else. So Kevin was talking to this young woman, the first woman that called in. And, one of the things that he said, and this is the one that's heartbreaking for me, I think his whole channel, he started with the fragrances and all of that, but he was getting men made over and getting them ready for the world. And then they would go out into the world and say, you know what, I'm out here doing everything that you told me to do. But the women are not up to standard. And ladies, we have to realize that men that are seriously considering marriage are professional men or men that can take care of themselves and are now ready to take care of a family. And it takes them time, usually not up until age 30. I married at 25, my ex-husband 7 years older than me. So he was 32. And I see this with a lot of younger women. When you are dating men your age, which, okay, that's fine. That may be the proximity that you're around. You basically have two options. You can wait for him to mature and you can just wait it out. Or you can date a man that is marriage ready if that's what you want. All right. So it's not happenstance that usually men are a little bit older, 7 years, 10 years. That's what I have seen success with. A big part of the reason why I'm back with the young love is because we are the same age. And I was ready when we were, graduating, and he was just like, no, I want to live my life. All right. So they need to go do that on their own. There's nothing that we can do to expedite that process. All right. So the other thing that he cautioned this first young lady who called, he was asking her relationship status and relationship history. And I think at 24, she had some type of 6-year relationship. And I think it was even with somebody who was not only her age, but younger. And he said something about, was he even ready for a relationship that young? And she said, oh, they all say they're ready. And ladies, he pumped the brakes on that one. And what he told her was that, I'm going to stop you right there. We have to be very careful, ladies, lumping men. We are some of the first ones to say, not all, but the men that have worked very hard to set themselves apart are highly offended by your experiences with lesser men being put on them. So the best thing to do, like my man will tell you, you need to tell what you did before you tell the story. So if you chose men that you knew were a fun time and not a long time, you have to own that. What did you learn from it? What are you doing differently now? But if you try to say, well, they all or they never, the men that are seriously considering marriage, you'll be excluded from consideration. All right. The next question that he asked her was about her teaching and her training for relationship readiness. And this is a big part of why Lucy and I teach the classes that we do. I have coaching. I have a 25-year-old I'll be meeting with later tonight. I don't really advertise it as much anymore, but what I realize now is coming from a traditional immigrant family, I had the example, and I know a lot of young women don't have that, and it really breaks my heart. But he was asking her, what did your mother say to prepare you for relationships? And young women, you can ask yourselves, you hear me say it, if your mother didn't teach you how to be a good woman to a good man, you are behind, because what's going to happen is you're going to meet the one and he's going to be ready. And then you're going to be scrambling to keep up. So if you know you're not prepared, if you know you don't know what men are looking for, not in fun girls, but in actual wives, then like he said, you need to seek that out, and you need to surround yourself with the type of women that have the type of relationship that you also aspire to have. This young woman starts talking about her mother, and she said, mom is celibate now after having 2 children from 2 different men, never married, and was just telling this really messy story. Let me just say this, hopefully not for young women, but, if there's any older women listening, do what you want to, especially with your body. You control that. But I'm going to tell you what my man said. And I said this in one of the private classes that I taught, and I never really thought about it this way. A lot of older women go the celibacy route. That's fine if that's what you want to do. But I will tell you, from a man's perspective, you're either a virgin or you're not. Now, I'm not saying you need to be out here doing everything. I absolutely am not saying that. But the way my man said is, you get to this age of 40 something when you have illegitimate children and you've done all that you want to do, and now you're celibate. Now you're telling me I gotta marry you when you didn't require that before. It's a much harder sell. And my man said, so you're celibate now. Makes me wonder, what all did you have to do to become celibate at now 40, 45, and 50? So it really starts having their mind thinking, okay, how did we get here? Look, ladies, I'm an advocate for marrying young, but it's going to be really hard to now you have an awakening and someone else is going to have to fall in line. You're not going to be able to push that rope uphill. So here's what I would recommend. Again, I would recommend that you choose wisely. Either wait for marriage or wait for a real relationship. This hookup culture and the way women are just kind of allowing anything and everything to happen until they get tired of it. And now you want to ask for someone to make an honorable woman out of you. It's going to be incredibly difficult if you already have had those experiences. All right. So again, I have several young women who are saving themselves for marriage. And that's what I'm focusing on, because once it's gone, ladies. All right. I'll just say that from the men's perspective. All right. So she's talking about her mother. He's talking about, mom didn't really prepare you for relationships. Sounds like mom is out here living her own life. And he said something that really struck me. He says, once we have children, we give up our single life, ladies. And you may cringe at that, but honestly, it's true. I remember when my man sat me down and said, finish what you start. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Suave D coming in with the $10. He says, you're a blessing, Maggie. I really appreciate that. That is my heart to help. I'm here until I'm not. One day that bell will ring for me, but the internet is forever. So thank you so much. Okay. So we were talking about, I was just saying, when my man sat me down and said, hey, you got to finish what you start. I don't want a blended family. The kids were small and I, was thinking, oh my gosh, that's so mean. So I call him mean on Mister, but he was incredibly right about that, ladies. And I'm going to tell you something else that he told me that hurt, but it's true. Sometimes the truth hurts. And he said, the things that make you a great mother also make you a bad girlfriend. And before you go howling at the moon, it's true, ladies. If our man wants to take us somewhere and the kids are sick, what is the priority? And men know that, and they want you to be a good mother. So he basically said, give all of your effort. Of course, now they're older, we have our time, but give all of your effort to the family that you created. That is the priority. So ladies, this is why just having a kid, having a tag-along child, it's not just like an attachment. If you have to choose between, your own offspring or a man, tell the truth. Ask yourself, you're going to make sure that man knows that my kids come first. Women will tell you that, as they should. This is why men are more apt to choose a woman who doesn't have children. Okay. So this young woman was talking about how, her mother didn't prepare her for relationships. And she basically says, I'm just out here figuring it out. She said she had a lot of toxic behavior. She had her boyfriend since she was 17, moved in with him at 19. So she's now 24 and she's painting this picture of this just chaotic life. And that's when he realized, like, your mom didn't help you out at all. You're just figuring this out. And so he said, not only was that man too young to even be trying to play house or whatever you all are doing, he said at 24, you should be happy. You should be in a joyous part of life. You've got your youth, you've got your vitality, all the things that, wane as we age, but you're 24 and coming with a lot of miles. And so women hear that. Sometimes we get offended because it's like, no, my body count is this, my body count is that. Ladies, it doesn't matter. Oh, it does matter. But my point is that when you have all these experiences and they're not the type of experiences that are going to help you in the relationship that you're ultimately going to want, because all of us ultimately want the same thing, that's a lot of undoing. That's just a lot of, as Kevin said, mileage. So again, choose wisely. There are a lot of men. There are not a lot of husbands, and it doesn't make them a bad person. But when you give your best years to someone who is not really thinking about a future with you, you're going to have that scar. And your future husband would rather build a life with someone who is less damaged. All right. That's just the truth. All right. So he was telling her to get it together, get her fitness together. You all know that's a struggle for me, but Kevin was on her. At 24, it's not over, but she has a lot of work to do. And this is why, I used to think, I remember when Lucy and I started the finishing school and some of our biggest sponsors were saying, women under a certain age only. And I can admit, I used to get offended and I was like, but all of this. But here's what I've realized. Life really starts to speed up as we get older. And young ladies, hear me. You think you've got all the time in the world. Let's say you're 25. My man said, if you meet the man of your dreams tomorrow and everything goes perfect, it's at least 28 before you have your first child, right? So, and you may say, okay, that's fine. 28 is still young, but how many women are doing that at 28, thinking they still have time? 32, you become 35 just like that, and it's geriatric pregnancy. Maybe that doesn't matter to you, but again, to a man who's looking at creating his own family, most want 2 or 3 children. They're looking at, do I want to do the hard way or do I want to do the easy way? So let's say you meet the man of your dreams, you're 25. You're going to date for a year. If everything goes perfectly, then you're engaged. That's 26. Then you're going to prepare for a wedding. That's another year. Y'all want these long engagements and big parties. Now you're 27. Let's say you get pregnant on your wedding night. First baby comes at 28. So do you see how quickly the years start adding up? So if you just start, again, not the end of the world, but if you just start in your late 20s or 30s, and you meet a man who's like, you know what? Yeah, I'll take care of everything. You take care of the home and family, but these are my requirements. Are you able to give the man that you want what he wants? And unfortunately, for a lot of women, they're realizing much later in life that ship has sailed. All right, let's continue on. So hopefully she gets it turned around. The next thing he was talking about, he talked a lot about the Golden Girls. And I remember watching this show. For those of you all who don't know, I think it was a show back in the 80s we used to watch. There were these older women. We thought they were older. Now we realize they were over 40, but back then they just looked so old when we were young. But they were all single women, 4 or 5 single women, and they decided to rent out a home in Florida. And the show was basically about their daily life and dating life. And it was a comedy. It was funny. But now that I'll be 50 this year and I start thinking about it, I don't want to live in a compound with other women. This is what's coming. And I don't get any pleasure in saying this, but especially young women, when you look at, and you don't have to listen to me, look at the older women in your family, look at the older women, in pop culture. When you get to become 60 and you're doing life-altering surgeries, you're going to see a lot of older women start to do risky things with their body, risky things with their money, getting caught up in all kind of schemes to kind of get money quick, just living very chaotic lives, moving across the country, just doing anything because they're trying to figure out how they're going to settle the second half. And I don't want the young ladies who want relationship to find yourself at my age trying to figure it out. Believe me, it's so much nicer when you have put the time in early and you can sail into your golden years instead of pulling up on 2 wheels. All right. So Kevin Samuels was talking about the golden years, and he said, y'all know I'm not an animal person, but he said that a lot of older women are just going to be surrounded by their dogs or cats and their girlfriends. And if that's what you want, that's fine. I always say my content isn't for everyone. Not everybody is a wife. Not everybody wants marriage. So this message is not for you. But young ladies, if you feel called, if you know that you want to be part of an intact family, if you know that you don't want to be out here dating for 10, 20, 30 years, like unfortunately we see a lot of, then you need to start making that a priority now. You do not have time. Do not listen to people who say, what's the rush? All right. Go ahead and get your life and relationship sorted out, because the men are going to stay on their purpose, the men that we want. And it's going to be a lot harder to get their attention when you passed on them earlier. All right. Kevin was also talking about the age range of 65 to 85. He was the facts, data, and statistics, and I don't have any of that. But what he was saying is these later years from 65 to 85, ladies, one of the things that we are not good at, and it's okay, is really thinking about the future. I think men have a much better skill set in thinking about the future. We're really good in the moment. We do a really good job making a house a home, turning ingredients into a meal, making everything bright and beautiful right now. But as far as planning for the future, we don't really do that. So when he would ask women, what do you want 50 to look like, 60 to look like? What do you want your later years to look like? A lot of them would just be deer in the headlights because they hadn't thought about it. All right. Hello, Charlene is here. And men are always thinking. That's another reason why, even if nothing else, and you all know how I feel about the word partner, but I think it is good to partner up, because my man said, if nothing else, a man will slow you down from some of the chaotic things that we do impulsively. And I asked some of the older ladies that I talked to, if you, for whatever reason, got to this phase of your life and you met a man, an older gentleman who said, you know what, I want to keep our lives separate. We will be, together, but I don't want to, get married. I just want to, enjoy these last, decades that we have together. Would you be open to that? And they said no. They expect to be fully taken care of. that's fine. But it's, again, a really hard sell when that man did not get the benefit of your youth. My man said, look, you gave your best years to somebody. So why should I, if I'm going to pay for everything, why not get the version that I get to enjoy the youth? Because we all age, ladies. Things start moving and shifting and aching. It's just life, but you can age gracefully. All right. So thinking about those years, he said 65 to 85, but ladies, I would say 45 to 65. You hear a lot of women, especially if you were beautiful and you had a lot come to you easy in your youth, then you hear a lot of women talking about they feel invisible, because you just don't get the attention. That phone isn't going to keep ringing forever. Those offers aren't going to continue. So when you find a good one, get your match and get on out of this dating department. Christina says it's true. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's think about the second half of life. We will all get there. And what do you want to do now so that you can enjoy your later years? All right. Charlene is asking if I've heard of Princella. I sure haven't. So you can send me a link if you want to, but I'm not familiar. Okay, so let us continue on. So Kevin was talking about, again, the statistics in our community, and maybe this is, others as well. 90% of divorces are initiated by women. And that makes me really sad. I did not file in my case. I'm not proud of it, but I do believe that we can help younger women by talking about what we've done right as well as what we've done wrong. And Kevin was talking to this woman about, in our culture, and I see this with a lot of modern women. Thank you, Suave D. I hear you. I see this with a lot of modern women. He said, we are told that life is better single. And if you look at the way most women are raised now, it's to get your accomplishments, get the bag, be independent, be a homeowner, get the baby Benz, travel, do all the things you want to do. And ladies, that's fine if that's what you want to do until you're 65. But I'm here waving the flag saying, believe me, as a reformed modern woman, we are going to naturally slow down. We are not built for the long haul to take on that pressure. Ask any woman my age or even younger, starting at 40. You don't have to believe me. Most of them will tell you some version of, I'm tired. They want somebody to help carry this burden. And like I said, it's going to be a lot harder than if you just shooed every opportunity away while you were in your prime. Now, maybe you are the Oprah amongst us and you're going to be the next kabillionaire and you can do it without any support. My hat's off to you. Most of us are not built for that. And I know I'm naturally slowing down. That's why I am making decisions now and made decisions then that would put me in a position where I can look forward to growing older. So just be very careful about throwing the baby out with the bathwater and starting all over on your own. It's not what these women tell you. It's not that great. A lot of them privately wish they had someone to share life with. All right. He was talking about a lot of modern women are told to focus on school and jobs, and that becomes our husband. And that's really sad, ladies. Hello, Killis is here. Thank you so much for being here. Rodney is here. So good to see you. Hello, everyone. So, I see this a lot when you talk about modern women, when you talk to modern women about their future. Most of them can lay out the plan that they want to make for the type of school or degree or job they want to go to. I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to have properties. I'm going to travel the world. They can tell you all of that. And if you listen to them, it's like, that is the husband that they're planning for. So ladies, and I tell this to women too, there's nothing wrong with saying I'm single and I don't want to be. I don't know what it is. We have this pride that it's like you almost see women like shrivel up when they, talk about being in a loving relationship. And that makes me really sad. But Unfortunately, and this is what I tell the women, because of this modern society that we're in, there's this closed mouths don't get fed. And because so many women are like, fine, I don't need anybody. If you don't explicitly say that you want to be in a relationship, a lot of times you will get swept into that and be like, well, she didn't say anything, so I guess she's all right. So I encourage you to prioritize relationships if that's what you want, just like you prioritize everything else. Thank you. I'm so glad it's helpful, Rodney. All right. So we don't want you to be terrified. Yes, relationships are work, but they're so beautiful and such a blessing when you choose right wisely and you prioritize and keep your relationship the main thing. And this is coming as a divorcee. This is someone who has a failed marriage, but my highest honor, and I have a lot of accomplishments on paper, but especially as I age, with all the big jobs and big promotions, come the layoffs and the stress and everything that goes along with that. But what is steady, what is consistent is the relationships that you've built. All right. So young ladies, hear me and remember what really matters. All right. He talked about community as well in this episode, and communities are built on families. And I know so many young people now, it's just like we're all on these devices. We don't know how to have eye contact, we don't know how to have conversation, we don't know our neighbors. And I'm not saying we need to go back to the past, but I will say that if you feel that sense of community is missing, communities are built on families. And I'm going to say it, families are created by men. Yes, women are the heart of the home. I love that. We reacted to a video where he said that, but men create the life that they want for themselves, and then they select the woman to be a support system to them. If you want something traditional, if you want to be a boss babe, my message doesn't apply. But my man will tell you, a trucker wants a trucker's wife, an executive wants an executive wife, a senator wants a senator's wife. So ladies, we have to look at the life that the man has and say, can I fit into his world? And that's how families are made, and that's how communities are built. Circling back to another reason why having all these kids out of wedlock, the families are broken and it's just scattered and there's no structure there. And when that kid is bigger than you and treating you like a piece of furniture, you're going to wish you had somebody who could get them in line, right? Believe me. Thank you so much. Ari says Maggie is bringing hope back to the community. Thank you so much, sweetheart. And Rocky is here saying, hello, Miss Maggie. Thank you so much. All right. I appreciate that. So let's go on. All right. So the other thing that he said that I'm so glad that he talked about this. Usually he talks about it with facts, data, and statistics, but he spoke some really just pertinent truths in this episode. You know how Kevin Samuels always used to ask women, okay, you don't want a relationship, fine. Are you prepared for retirement? Do you have your 2.9 million? And let's face it, none of us do, okay? We're not trust fund kids. If we were, you wouldn't be on the internet listening to me. But one of the things that maybe he had said it before, but it really struck me listening to this episode, back in the past, we got together because we needed each other. And I think with all these modern conveniences, people think I don't need anybody because I can just dial 911, call Uber Eats, order on Amazon, and things are just going to magically happen. But the truth is, especially in our community, most of us, almost all of us, we are not rich. And having to do it on your own, it should be terrifying. We are not built to be alone. And so I think once we stop faking it to make it, or whatever people think, I can just pretend I woke up like this, the sooner that we're honest with ourselves that, you know what, I'm middle income. Some of us are a little bit above average. Some of us are a little bit below average. I mean, we know the bell curve. I mean, some of us are in extreme poverty and some of us are extremely wealthy. But for the most part, for our community, if we want any resemblance of life as we know it, 20, 30, 50 years from now, we do need to partner up and make sure that we survive and we survive together. It really is about survival. So ladies, don't think that, the modern convenience is on. Thank you so much for the 99 cents, Ari. That's sweet. I appreciate the sticker. Don't think that the modern conveniences are going to save you from really having a real relationship. Oh, thank you so much. Callista's saying hello to everyone. Here's the thing, you all, a lot of times modern women, and Kevin said it in this episode, men are often just a utility. We just look at them for their wallet and what they can provide. And yes, men are providers, but they are providers at their level. Again, why you need to look at his life and see, can I fit into his life? If I want to be an executive wife, then I need to know what an executive expects and make sure I'm delivering on that consistently. So if you want something that you are not, we have to seek it out and we have to get better so we can be competitive. But there's so many things about a man that I appreciate that have nothing to do with finances. Of course, they're brave. Of course, they're strong and all of that. But ladies, the decision making, their way to focus on a task and actually get something done, the way they are just decisive, the way they can fix things. Again, some of you all get really, upset if you imagine yourself in a relationship with a man who is not paying all of the bills. But my man said this, especially ladies, if you're outside of your prime, like most of us, even if you had a man who said, I will take care of 50% of everything, before you go howling off to the moon and say, I'm not doing 50-50, if all of your bills could be cut in half, would that not be better than aging and doing everything alone? And I'm not saying, to just make a financial deal. Maybe that's what some marriages are. But ladies, especially if that ship has sailed for you and you are not in your prime, but you have a man who is serious about you and he's telling you what he's able to do, I would just say consider it, because ladies, this has literally been keeping me up at night. And oh my goodness, thank you so much. Dope Law, $20, so incredibly generous. And Roxy, oh my gosh, thank you. Okay, let me read these, you all. You are too kind. Dope Law says, have you ever had a man buy your wife's course just because I want to buy it and have a woman I'm dating go through it? Is it lifetime access? Yes and yes. So I'll tell you about it, and then we'll get back to Kevin Samuel. So first of all, thank you for the $20. So if you all don't know, Lucy and I have beginners classes, intermediate classes, and advanced classes. The wife lessons class is our advanced class. And my man said it is our best material. And I'll tell you, ladies, before we started teaching the wife lessons, we ran the curriculum by the men in the community that we admire and respect, especially my man, because I'm not a man, but I want to make sure if I'm preparing the ladies, I want to prepare you for what the men that you admire and respect require from women. So we're actually in session right now. It is a 4-week course. It is available now on demand, but if you choose to get it, the next time we teach it live, you will also get the live access. And anybody who's taken the course, anytime we do a new session, they have access for life. So yes, it's at teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. And what you can do is, and I think there might be a coupon code. You can try a coupon code WIFE if it still works. It might be $50 off, but go to teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. And when you get to the checkout, what you can do is before you finish, there is a space at the bottom, a box that says send this as a gift. And then all you have to do is put in her email address, and then she will get the welcome email. So all the materials, the workbooks, everything is there. We actually ship out workbooks live too. But yes, I have a lady in our class right now. She's engaged, and her fiance I have a package that includes everything, bought her all of my courses and wants her to prepare. So that is the answer to your question. And thank you so much. And Rocky is here saying, I've been a fan since your appearance on Pearl's show with your weight loss. You look amazing. What else did she say? Thank you. Y'all know it's a struggle for me, but I'm really trying to get 50 off by 50. I've got 30 to go. I'm down 20. Your confidence and oration have blossomed nicely. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the compliment, and I can take the feedback. It's really important. Rodney says, living within the limitations is the hardest part of growing up and growing old gracefully at every age in life. Yes, absolutely. Gillis is saying, amen. It's about survival. Listen to the older women. And if we could secure that while we are young, it would be so much easier. It will be a rude awakening later on in life. That is so true. And Rachel says, live within his means. That's something that I should have done in my marriage. And I'm always here to tell you all what I've done right and what I've done wrong. I loved being married. I love being part of a family. Absolutely love being a mom. But I wanted the big house and the vacations and all of that. But what that means is it put me in a breadwinner position. And so when I wanted to slow down, when I felt, now there's 2 kids now, can we take some time to maintain that standard of living that nobody asked for? I have to stay part of the machine. And so I have learned a painful lesson. At the end of the day, those things are nice, but I would much rather wait for them and enjoy them. Everything in its proper time, ladies. You can't do it all at the same time, especially young ladies. Hear me. Don't hurt yourself by missing out on a good thing, and don't put pressure on your husband, especially a young husband or a younger husband, to provide something for you. It will come. The man that I'm with, like I said, I grew up with him, and we were kids, but now he's an executive and he's able to do a lot more, but it took time to get there. And I'm only the beneficiary of it because I was ready in the beginning. And I asked him if he was interested, and I said no, would I have a second chance? And he flat out told me no. So men, remember, and I don't want any of our ladies to have that regret. All right. Neo Moses says, yes, the man that was engaged bought it for his fiance. Yes, one of my students is engaged and her fiance bought the course for her. All right. And Neo says, if I have a lady, I like to check out your course. My lady taking your course, would she benefit if she's wife ready? Yeah, I think there's a preview. You'll have to take a look, but Ari says it's so true. Absolutely. But yes, you can buy the course for yourself. You can buy it for your wife, your fiance, and that's one of the best things. And I'm going to get back to Kevin, but you asked the question. I'm really impressed and honored how many wives are taking our wife lesson course. I was stunned. I thought it was for women who wanted to be wives, but we have had probably about 30 to 40% of our students are already married. Some of them married 10, 15 years, and they're like, you know what? I can do better. Every time I teach the course, it makes me do better as well. So ladies, wherever you are, if marriage and family is important to you, I would recommend it. So you can enroll now, you can watch the recordings, but when we teach it live, we'd like to keep it as a cohort. Oh, you're so welcome. Please check it out, and happy to help. Okay. So back to reacting to Kevin's content. You all have been so generous, and thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we were talking, let me scroll back. I just have my clips over here, so I want to make sure I react. So we talked about the young woman that her mother didn't prepare her for marriage. And then the second young woman that called in, she had a lot of fear about relationships. And the sad thing is that I think she comes from divorce, and either her father or somebody told her more than she needed to know as a child. And as a parent, that is not our responsibility to burden our children. And this is the mistake that I think a lot of women make too. Our kids are not our friends. We bring them into the world so that they can go off and live their life. There are some things that we have to take to the grave. There are some things that we do not need to burden our children with. They are not responsible for us. They don't really owe us anything if we raise them right. And hopefully they care. But I don't want us to shackle, especially our sons, down with the burden of taking care of, their parents when their parents didn't make the right decisions. Okay, so this young woman, he was asking her questions, and there was just all this fear, well, what if this happens? I want it, but I'm scared. And he said, you know what? It's so funny. Modern women, We have fought for all these freedoms. We can work any job, we can go to any school, we can do anything we want to. But he said, you all are the freest that you've ever been, but you sound the most oppressed. And think about it, ladies. I mean, we're out here arguing and yelling and protesting for everything. There's no other country that women can carry themselves the way that we do and just get away with it. So just be careful about that. You know, life is real, life is tough. We can't have it all at the same time. So again, choose wisely. And Killa says, yes, kids shouldn't live our traumas. So true. All right. Rodney says, yes, men remember rejection. We just handle rejection differently. So yes, ladies, they remember. All right. Excuse me. So we were talking about we are not trust fund kids. Ladies, you know, all of these big dreams that we have, it costs money. And this is something, I think the next clip, Kevin was at the round table with these young women. This one was painful for me, excuse me. And he was just asking them about their future. And of course, you know, I'm going to live here. I'm going to move there. I'm going to have all these properties. I'm going to be able to travel. And Kevin would ask, and I love this because, you know, so many women looked at Kevin like he was mean, you know, the original mean old mister. But ladies, this is how men think. You can't just say stuff. You can't just wish upon a star and say, you know, well, one day I'm going to be, you know, the one woman said she's going to have a net worth of $80 million. And he asked, what do you do? And it was something in the anime space or whatever. She was some type of TV something. And he said, do you even make six figures? And the answer was no. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, having a modest income. Most of us are average, some above, some below. But ladies, all this fantastical life that we talk about, it costs money. And if you are not, number one, in a position to provide it for yourself, and or number two, prioritizing relationships so that, excuse me, you and your husband can work together towards some of those goals. He was just asking her, where's the money going to come from? And young ladies, this is why a lot of times men are just like, yeah, she's just talking, because we say stuff like we're going to be able to wish upon a star. And this is why I rail against the manifesting and chakra rocks and believe it and speak it and all of that. And of course, yes, I am a woman of faith, but that stuff doesn't just magically poof out of thin air. So if you're not on track for that, it's going to be hard. What did he say? It's not impossible, but is it probable? All right. So you have to ask yourself. All right. Let us continue on. Ari says, yes, children should remain innocent as long as possible. I agree. And Rodney says, dreams without goals are just fantasy. So true. All right. So we had the round table of women that had all of their dreams. And he was just trying to warn them. It's going to be very hard for most of us in this community. And I would say, you know, even in other communities, if you come from modest means, if you have, you know, an average job, we are not Elon Musk or Bill Gates or any of these people. It is very hard to age on one income. That is for all of us, even if you're doing well. You know, my parents are older, but, you know, every time open enrollment comes and we have that Medicare conversation, you know, mom and dad are talking about whose plan covers what. It's just better together. So I don't want you all to be out here trying to figure it out on your own and doing desperate things that you wouldn't do if you had someone to bounce ideas off of. All right. One of the reasons Kevin said men are more realistic is because they know homelessness is close. That's one of the things that he said. And it just shocks me every time he says that. But ladies, men live every day knowing that nobody cares. No, nobody is coming to rescue me from myself. If I do not do well, if I am not able to take care of myself, there is a corner and people will step over me on the way to wherever they're going. So just imagine living in that type of level 7 at all times. I don't think we even understand the stress that men go through every day. And so as women, if we're being honest with ourselves, we don't think that way. We know that we can turn on the waterworks, be a damsel in distress. Somebody's going to come make it right. That's where you hear all this protesting. Well, they should. And, you know, well, you've got it. And, you know, that's not right. And it's not fair. Men don't live in that world. They know early and often it's not fair, never been fair, never going to be fair. So quit your crying and get to work. So be careful, ladies, all this equality that you're asking for. Equality comes with the cost, all right? And are you ready to pay that cost until 65? All right, so moving towards the end of this episode, there was another woman who called in. Oh my goodness. And I was upset with her from the beginning because the premise of her question for me was just off. So again, Kevin was asking in this episode, are there enough women that are marriage ready, ready to be wives? And she said, yes. And I'm one of those women now. I wasn't when I was in college. And oh yeah, I have a kid, but I am now. She actually said that men are not choosing the right women. Who are you? How dare you? And Kevin even asked her, he was like, really? Are you the right woman that is marriage ready? And we've already had the conversation about the illegitimate children. But when he started to peel the onion with her, all this baggage started to come out. And she was honest that she wasn't the nicest person. She had a man in college that was interested in her, but she wanted to move back to her home state or something where her kid's father was, who was not in the picture anymore. Just all of this chaos when, again, she had somebody, even with a child in her prime, that was interested in her. She didn't take him up on it. And now she's on Kevin's channel saying that the men are the ones who are choosing incorrectly. Ladies, we've got to realize how ridiculous that sounds. That's like, I don't even know what it's like. That's like saying, you know what? I don't know, like you should choose, you're the producer for this movie and you're paying for everything, but you're not choosing the right actors. If you like it or don't like it, if they're the ones funding the film, then they get to choose. Circling back to what I said, ladies, the men are the ones that get the rings. They are the ones that propose. They are the ones that sacrifice for the family's benefit. They are the ones that go without. If there's not enough food to eat, they will go hungry. If there's not enough warm clothes, they will be cold. If there's only one car, they will either walk or take the bus so that you can have the transportation. So they are the ones that get to choose because they are the ones that carry the burden. So I would highly admonish that young woman for thinking like, we don't have any position to tell men what they're supposed to do with their relationships for the rest of their lives. We observe, and if we are courted, we accept with grace or we can exit with grace. That is it. This is why I'm telling women to prioritize it in your youth, because you are not calling the shots here. No matter what modern women tell you, find me a man that you admire and respect and ask him how his wife wrestled him to the ground. I don't think you will. All right. Ari says the rise of homelessness with women is insane. And I think, what decisions did they make that led them to this? It's true. And I know there's going to be somebody in the comments, which is fine. I can take it. There's all kind of reasons why people are homeless. Maybe you have mental issues. Maybe you have drug issues. That's fine. But honestly, ladies, and I don't take pleasure in saying this, but young ladies, listen to an older woman. It will get worse before it gets better. If you have a husband, if you have a man who is seriously courting you and he is husband material to you, hold on. The next 20 years, you are going to see a lot of women in my age group, these Gen X women who you couldn't tell them anything, between 45 and 65 or 55 and 75, you're going to see them have some dire circumstances. And what's going to happen is they're going to start reaching out first to the men. And then when the men tell them, you didn't want me back then, or why should I take you seriously now? They're going to start reaching out to their girlfriends, their daughters, their nieces, their friends, hoping, is there any room in the inn? It's already started, and I'm seeing this. And you can choose, but it is not your responsibility to bear the burden for someone else's bad decisions, even if you are related to them. Do not let unruly single women mess up a good thing. If you have a good thing, do what you can And then I say, leave them to their consequences. And it hurts me to say that because, ladies, we are not supposed to be out here dating in our older years. Someone asked me once on TikTok, like, if you found yourself single again, what would you do? Well, I wouldn't be out here dating or being on an app. I would hope that I have lived my life in a way so that even men that I'm not in relationship with think enough highly of me to quietly introduce me to somebody that would be a good mate for me to sail off into the sunset with. But all of this behavior out here in public, trying to compete and date like younger women, this is why women are doing some drastic things in their older years. And I really do think it will get better. It is going to get worse before it gets better. So young ladies, hold on. Neo Moses says it's getting bad that Chinese women are competing with American women with the same issues like this there now. It is. And if you all haven't seen some of these videos, it's happening in other parts of the world. And I'm going to tell you, my man told me, I don't know how he got on this mailing list for like Russian brides, but every week he gets an email. Have you found the love of your life yet? I'm so and so. I would love to, keep a home and, have a family. And I just haven't found that person. Ladies, I'm telling you, the men that we want have so many options. This is not a game. And even if you are in a relationship, like I work every day to make sure that I continue to provide what he requires of me. And so far, he says I'm doing a good job. RBN's Through the Fire podcast. So good to see you. He says, do you understand how heartbreaking it is as a man to leave a woman you love who is unruly and uncooperative, but we have to let them go for our own stability? Yes, ladies, this is true. Thank you for the love. Rodney says winter is coming. And thank you for the $10, RBN. So good to see you. Ladies, we have to understand that men, part of their long-term thinking, it's not about this moment. It's not about this one unruly outburst. It's not about this one argument. It's not about right now. Men are thinking about, can I live with this behavior for the next 5, 10, 50 years? And if the answer is no, they will hurt themselves temporarily to rid themselves of you and then go find another way to sail off into the sunset. And so hear me, young women, if you've got that mouth, if you're a little argumentative, if you feel like, oh, it's cute being a little sassy, and then you find yourself quickly dismissed, he made the decision that I told her, I didn't even want to have to tell her, but I told her, she thought this was a game. I'm not doing this for 20 years. Because when a man is ready, when a man has built himself, he's not playing games with you. It's taken him long enough to get here. So ladies, we have to be ready when they are, again, because they do the asking. All right. Ari says, two are stronger together. Yes. Just like Kevin Samuels used to say, I miss him every day. He was incredibly kind one-on-one. He changed my life. And a lot of what women get upset about was his passion to help turn the tide on this because he saw what was coming. Kevin was so informed about not only the social media space, but the rest of the world. And like Neo Moses said, ladies, it's not just China. Even in Africa, when I was there, when I was in Ghana, which is my home country, and if you all want to travel with me, I'm going back every year. Everything is at teachablemomentswithmaggie.com, December to remember. But even my tour guides and the people, the men that I met in Ghana as part of my trips were telling me how the European women are coming to Africa. They're basically like, look, we're running out of husbands. This is what I'm willing to offer. Like they are leading with it. So, modern women, especially here, in our country, in our community, if you think time is on your side, do not be fooled. All right. Aisha says, and he died single. Kevin was married twice and he was a divorcee. But I will say this, people can, say what you want to. That's fine. It's a public platform. But I think about this often. Young ladies, we are not entitled to an older man's wisdom. We are not entitled to an older woman's wisdom. How it used to work back in the past is that we would take care of our own in our own family. Kevin was responsible for his daughter, and he talked about that in this episode, that he makes sure she knows you are not supposed to be single forever. In her 20s, he was already preparing her. I am responsible for the sons that me and my ex-husband had together. The fact that anybody would take time out of their life to offer you something that was helpful, you can dismiss it if you want to. You can laugh at it if you want to. But I hope your life is in order, and I hope you get the outcomes that you want when you're my age. Because if I had daughters, and one day when the boys marry, and God willing, I'm a grandmother, that will be my focus. My man has told me 2027 is your year, Maggie. So like I say, I'm here until I'm not. The internet is forever, yes, but nobody is going to be available to you on demand when you finally wear yourself out and you're like, okay, now I'm ready. It might not be available to you because other people that have their life together are making sure their legacy is taken care of, as they should. That is the priority. All right. My man says I should have had daughters. But if I had daughters, I wouldn't be here with you all. I would be preparing them like my mother prepared me. All right. Rodney says marriage and dating has become a global experience. Yeah, and that's not how it used to be. Usually, or in the past, we would date what we had access to in our community. Met my now man growing up in school, met my ex-husband the summer before college, these dating apps and people thinking they have all these options. But all I'm saying is that, ladies, there are women who are willing to prioritize and seek this out. And the ones that aren't, okay, you can do whatever you want to do. That's totally fine. Gillis says we can only play damsel in distress when we are young. Nobody cares when we're old. It's true. I hate to see it, but ladies, it's true. Kevin said that at the end of this episode, that companies are preparing to make money off of the spinsters. A spinster is an old, unmarried woman, never married, no children. And if you don't have any family of your own, you are 100% responsible for yourself. If that's your choice and you're happy with it, God bless it. But it's going to be very expensive. And are we ready for that when we're unable to work full time, when we're unable to get those big jobs because they want somebody that's young with a lot of energy? That's just the way of the world. Like my man says, fair is a place where they judge pigs. Stop talking about what's not fair. That's mean old mister for you. But yes, that damsel in distress, it's not going to work. The world is basically going to say, okay, you want to live in this community? This is the cost. You want this medication? This is the cost. You want this surgery or this treatment? This is the cost. And there are systems in place, and I'm not a conspiracy person, but there are systems in place that, if you think about it logically, businesses benefit when you have two people spending the same amount of money. Just like you can buy your coffee out or you can make it at home. But if you have two people that are buying coffee out, meals out, clothes out, all of that, living separately, all this that we've kind of groomed our young people to be independent, don't need anybody, we're making somebody else rich. We're helping send someone else's kids to private school. We're helping fund someone else's bottom line. So just remember that, all right? And if you're fine with that, that's fine too. All right, so back to this last woman, next to last woman, that she called in to say that the men were not choosing the right kind of women. And then he asked her, are you the right type of woman? She said, well, I am now. But the truth is, like I said, when he started to peel that onion back, she had opportunities that she let slip out of her fingers. And now you don't get to call the shots. And even worse, ladies, you don't get to blame everybody else but yourself for the circumstance that you're in. You go from bad to worse, not taking any accountability for why we're here now. Like my man said, you need to tell what you did before you tell the story. So before you go saying what men are doing wrong, Really audit yourself and ask yourself, what feedback are you getting? He asked her, and she said, yeah, I talked to an old boyfriend. And he said, you really weren't the nicest. So if you know that a man wants a nice, pleasant woman to come home to, are you that? Or do you always have something to say, something to complain about, and it can't get right? Nothing's ever good enough for you. Why would he want to go, be with something miserable? So you have to really ask yourself, why am I here? What feedback did I get that I just kind of blew past and discounted because I thought, oh, there'll be another one. There'll be another one. There'll be another one until there isn't. All right. So Kevin said, if there's a plethora of these women, what city and state are they in? And I'll be honest, ladies, I don't know if I've ever said this, but I have men book sessions with me and they're like, Maggie, where can we find someone who thinks like you? And I'm struggling to recommend women that I can stand behind. And I don't take any pleasure in saying that, but we have a lot of work to do. So ladies, the men are quietly looking, and they'll look around for a little bit and then they'll find it and you won't hear from them again. They'll go live their own lives. All right. So the last woman who called in, oh my goodness, she was so masculine. He was talking about the community. He was talking about how we used to care about the reputation, care about our family, care about our own lives. He says, now everything is for the gram. Now we're on social media. This woman called in. She was a little rough around the edges. She had like a 20-year-old and a 14-year-old, never married. And she was kind of talking all this chakra talk. And Kevin finally cut her off. And ladies, here's the thing. You can believe in all the crystals and rocks that you want to. Nobody cares. But to the type of men that we admire and respect, they don't believe in that because it doesn't work. They know that they have to really put in the time and really put in the efforts. And like I say, if you don't believe me, that's fine. Ask the men that you admire and respect. All of them have an origin story. All of them can tell you about a time when maybe they had to eat ramen, sleep on a sofa, go without. They have all been through it. And it wasn't a vision board that got them to where they are now. Maybe they had to work at Chick-fil-A or drive Uber or go back to school at night. So it's really hard to impress a man like that who had to get it out of the mud when you come and you say, you know what, I just manifested it and now you're here. That's not going to work, ladies. All right. So she was talking all this chakra talk and he just kind of cut through it because she was like, I went through all of this and I used to be this and I used to be that. And now I'm on my healing journey. Here's another one I'm sick of, ladies. This healing is not supposed to last forever. After divorce, I went to therapy, figured out what I did wrong, got right back in a relationship, and I've been in it for over a decade. All right. Those of you all that are on these journeys for years and years and paying money, do what you want to do. But again, people are incentivized by you not being well. Figure out what you did wrong, but honest, that requires you being honest with yourself and then go do better. All right. But having these long, I'm waiting, I'm working on myself. I got to love myself. No, you don't. You just got to be a good woman to a good man. And I don't mean to be, flippant about it, but you don't get relationship experience not being in a relationship. You don't get relationship experience watching a movie, watching somebody else's social media, dreaming about it, writing about it in your journal, making a vision board. None of that gives you the skill set that you need to be successful in the real world. Okay. We got Next Level here. Greetings to the chat. Thank you so much. Yes, y'all, the men are not here for these 20-year-old journeys. And again, the men that we admire and respect had a father, brother, uncle, coach, mentor, someone get in there behind and say, quit your crying and get to work. So that is what they respect. And they want a woman that's going to be working just as hard as them, not in the same way, but alongside them. And that is how you grow together. That is how you get to these later years of life. And then you can experience all the wonderful things that a lot of women want in the front end. You're not going to get it. You have to earn it. So the quicker you can get in line will keep you from being at the back of the line when you're my age. All right. So Kevin asked this last woman, he said, are you coaching? So you have a daughter. She's 20 years old. What are you teaching your daughter? What are you teaching her? And again, the chakra rock lady was talking about, I'm teaching her to love herself. I'm teaching her before you go out there and jump into a relationship that you need to know who you are. He was like, no, you don't. Marriage isn't about love. We got to realize, ladies, and I'll tell you something I got told recently. Marriage isn't about us. Marriage isn't about he's going to do everything that I want. He's going to be my permanent plus one, and it's just going to be fantastic. Marriage is about commitment, duty. It's about building something together that the two of you couldn't do on your own. You have to know why you want this. You can't just say, well, I'm tired of doing everything else. I guess I'll try this marriage thing. All right. So thinking that you're just going to feel all this love, that's not going to sustain you. Yes, there are beautiful, loving moments, but it's work. And if you don't want to do the work, that's fine. But like my man said, you're going to listen to somebody. You're going to work for somebody. Why not your husband? All right. Do what you want to do. He said, again, we are middle income in our community. We haven't been around long enough to have this, generational wealth and all this stuff that people are talking about. That's fine. Maybe we move one step ahead, but none of us come from old money. So we need relationships for survival. Okay. She was like, well, you need to understand my brokenness. He said, no, I don't. Your brokenness is your problem. Just like my brokenness is my problem. And then she started to get a little escalated because she was used to all this like fluffy language working on other people. And we just, oh my God, it's such a heartbreaking story. And he was like, I don't care nothing about that. And ladies, women used to get so offended with Kevin Samuels, but that's how men are. They're like, look, if I can fix what I didn't have, Kevin has shared that he came from a single mom, didn't really know his dad. Like if he can get it together, what is your excuse? So we don't have the time to play around and figure it out. Neo Moses says, Miss Maggie, I have a gentleman named Rocky Lee who breaks down marriage isn't a partnership. That is correct. I'm going to send it to Lucy and you. I think this is something interesting worth reacting to. Happy to. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. All right. So he basically had to get her off the phone because, right underneath that journey of working on myself, she started to buck up and he's like, you're not going to overtalk me on my platform. And she kept going and she kept going. He finally just said, you know what? I'm going to let you go. And here's the thing, ladies. He said at the end of this episode, women have been removed from the threat of violence. What she did and the way she challenged him on his platform, a man wouldn't do that. And ladies, again, we live in this world where it's so safe and nothing's going to ever happen to us. We go up to that line and we touch that hot stove because we know it's not going to burn us. But unfortunately, the way that we're carrying ourselves, this overload, we're so masculine. That's why I had to learn how to be more feminine. And that's why I teach it. And I'm so much happier. But we were not built for that, ladies. We are not supposed to be taking on all this burden. If you think you can, that's fine. But he was talking to her about she just had to be right. And he said, you can be right and still not win. And you all hear me say, ladies, you can win the battle and you can lose the war. If you got to get somebody told, if you're going to hear what I have to say, if I'm going to shout you down, if I got to beat my chest to get my point across, all right, fine, you won. Now, like my man said, I'm going to help you mean what you say. And you'll just find yourself alone. So he said, think about really trying, ladies. And I know this is going to hurt. He said, we don't like each other. We see each other as opponents. And as polarizing as Kevin Samuels was, again, I did get the opportunity to speak to him one-on-one in that consultation, but he had a heart for the community and he wanted us to do better because he knew what was coming. Winter is not only coming, winter is here, even though spring is amongst us. He challenged us to think about each other romantically, not just in the vile way that we think about each other now, right? Really get to understand each other, like each other. I'm not your opponent. I'm not a utility. But he said, I am a man and I require you to be a woman. Just like my man told me, nothing about you needs to remind me of a dude. And I was like, whoa, okay. So I need to work on this. And it is a skill set. Ladies, if you want to, you can get better. We can all improve. But he said, you can't challenge a man. Learn how to be quiet. You might actually learn something, all right? We have to get better. I think we can get better. He said the gender war is over and we lost. We women, we lost. Look at it. They've been screaming and fighting for equality, but how many women are quietly saying, I don't want any parts of that. Where do I sign? Get me out of this. I'm tired of being on the front lines. And if you got energy for days to keep it up, God bless it. But like I warned, he said, the old gender warriors are still going to be fighting. There's going to be a lot, and I do not say this lightly, but young women especially, or those of you all who have relationships or are married, there's going to be a lot of older, bitter women who are going to try and throw rocks, who are going to try and ask questions, who are going to still think we're fighting against each other and whisper things into your ear. Prioritize your family, prioritize your relationship. If you have a good man, hold on, because like he said, all of us need to figure out what we're going to do in this second half. And I remember 25-year-old Maggie very, very well. I'm still the same girl, just a little bit slowed down, believe it or not. But we are all going to age, and I don't want us to be spinsters that are funding someone else's lifestyle because we didn't choose a better life for ourselves. All right. So that was my take on this Kevin Samuels episode. I did link it in the description, and it is called, let me just look here so I can tell you all. It's a couple weeks old. I've been busy. Is there a shortage of modern women desirable to be wives? All right, so Rodney says men don't connect through trauma bonding. Yeah, not the men that we admire and respect. They go figure it out. They lick their wounds and get back to battle. All right. Rodney says all wars, gender or otherwise, have casualties. Such a good point. And Neo Moses says there's going to be an onslaught of envy with today's singles coming up. Many married couples trigger women bad now. You all see it. I've been called everything, pick me, and that's fine. I'm proud to be picked. I do not care. My man said, my superpower is that I'm not cool. Maggie ain't never been cool. So all the stuff that y'all say just rolls off her back. But, if there's a young woman out there that I'm helping, that's what matters to me, because all of us are going to age, and time waits for no one. So yes, ladies, if you feel alone, if you feel like maybe your mothers or aunties or single girlfriends or boss babes or whoever are telling you it don't take all that, you need to do you need to live. Of course, it's a free country. You can do whatever you want. But if you know in your heart of hearts you are happy under the covering of your husband, if you know that your best memories are together as a family unit, if you look forward to the future and growing and creating that legacy together, don't let anybody sway you. Believe me, like we tell the kids, they are jealous of you. They want what you have. All right. So I think that's all. Rodney says, proud to be picked. Say it, Maggie. Okay. So that's everything, you all. So today is Thursday. I just wanted to do this every month. The Kevin Samuels channel puts together a compilation of some of his best moments. So this was the one from the first Friday of March. So I'll be back again on the Wives Club channel. Plus, I also stream it on my channel. So I'm Maggie, the substitute teacher. I make food and femininity content. So if you like the cooking content, I'll be back with you all tomorrow at 5 p.m. on Food Talk TV. I think I got a brownie recipe I want to try, like a healthy brownie recipe. All right. Next Level says, are the McMaggies available for online purchase? You know what? I could freeze them. You could inbox me. I made them for Mister. I think he ate 3 today. But I have a breakfast sandwich that everybody's been really loving. Yeah, I could freeze them and overnight them on ice. It probably would work. But yes, and I think somebody requested a turkey version. So I have the footage in my phone. I just got to stitch it together. It's like a McMaggie sausage, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwich. All right, everybody. Let me say thank you for all of the donations that came through today. Thank you, Swag D, for the $10. I'm glad that I'm a blessing to you. Ari, thank you, sweetheart, for the 99 cents. Too kind. Y'all don't even have to be here, let alone support. Dope Law, stream sponsor at $20. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Rocky is here. Thank you so much for rocking with me and then RBN Through the Fire podcast. Thank you all so much for the support. So if you want cooking content, I'll see you all tomorrow at 5 p.m. If you want femininity content with Lucy, I will see you all Saturday at 5 p.m. as well, Eastern time. All right, everybody. Hopefully this is helpful. I'm going to go ahead and let you all go.